Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. So today's topic is trainer education, and we're going to discuss overcoming leadership anxiety. And we've talked about this. I probably need to stop mentioning it at the beginning of every one of these. But these are directed for trainers. However, there's tons of life benefit for anyone listening to this. So hopefully that is true. But I do think it's good to kind of have people hear this in the sense of like this is often like what would relate for trainers is going to relate for anybody in business. So because personal trainers, essentially what you're doing is customer service, community interaction. And there's a lot of jobs out there that are like that, and also just ourselves when we're trying to create relationships with family and friends and acquaintances and stuff. These things come into play. So what we're going to cover today is leadership anxiety. And what that means is I have mentioned also in the past, I work with a lot of trainers in person and online as clients, and we discuss the kind of different aspects of being a trainer and how to stay in business and, make money but help people and find that balance point. And something that's been coming up in some of the younger trainers and that I have is the anxiety of being a leader. Like, do I know enough to help people? Do I know enough to be posting on social media? Do I know enough to even call myself a personal trainer? And the people that I've been talking to are freaking awesome trainers, and they're excellent at what they do. However, they need to kind of develop that self-belief themselves. And what I want to talk about today was how I help other people, other trainers do that. So some specific examples we've had is had some people with trainers getting anxiety, maybe when a new client signs up for their training services, or if they're at a big box gym and they're given a new client as a trainer, they've been getting a little bit of anxiety, a little bit worried, a little bit stressed, like, oh man, am I going to be able to help this person? What if this? What if that? And also having anxiety when maybe they want to kind of advertise themselves. So I have a couple people who train with me they own their own facilities, and they'll have just kind of confidence issues with trying to promote themselves and feeling like, am I making this too much about me? Am I kind of, am I setting up a false belief? Am I going to be able to follow through with this? That kind of stuff. And then also if anybody is kind of wanting to start their own business, but they're afraid to do so, or start being a personal trainer and actually charging people and having the fear and anxiety over that. So I remember when I first started training friends and friends of the family, I didn't charge anything, and it was all of a sudden, I think it was somebody had offered to pay me once, and they're like, well, you took your time to drive over. It was a friend of a family thing. So I took some weights and stuff in my car, drove over to their house, which was maybe like a 30-minute drive, did an hour or so session with them, and then was going to be driving back. And they said, well, you took a lot of time out of your day to do this, and I really appreciate it. Here's some money. And they handed me the money, and at first you feel guilty because you just want to do it because you want to help people, and you don't know if you're worth the money. You don't want to, you don't want the person to be upset or mad or feel like they were obligated to pay you, or all these kind of worries and concerns that we have. And it took me having people offer to pay me over and over again for me to finally say, yeah, this is probably something I should take money for because I am doing time and effort into it. And not only the hour or two spent with them was all the time planning it and prepping it. And then when I went and spent money to get my personal training certification, that's when I definitely wanted to start kind of accepting the money that I felt like I was worth, because I had put money into getting certified. So I wanted to kind of, if you pay a couple $100 for a certification, you want to start getting some of the money back to recover for that. And it also makes you feel more validated and more, can't think of the word right now, but it's appropriate that you would then be taking money. So some of the things I've done for people in the past, and I didn't necessarily know this stuff when I was coming up, in the way in which I could teach it now, but it was ideas that kind of developed over time. And there was one trainer I had at the gym here, Brutal Iron Gym, and I remember we met once, and this person didn't have a training knowledge background. They were just a good freaking human being. So just a really nice human being. They cared about people. They had a good heart. They were very enthusiastic. And whenever I asked them to be a trainer, they said, well, I don't know. I might not know enough to be a trainer. And I remember telling them, I said, I can teach you how to be a good trainer. So I've taught at the university, this is what I do, I teach. So I can teach you to be a good trainer, but I can't teach you how to be a good person. So when I first opened the gym, I had a blend of people come through as trainers, where some of them were awesome human beings and awesome trainers. So, and then I had some who were, they had knowledge in training, but they weren't necessarily the nicest human being. And they would charge for things that weren't valid. And they would just not keep the person they were training as the main focus. It was still more about them or how they could use that person to get ahead. Or you just tell it wasn't about the client. It was more about them. And slowly I started realizing was I could, as a business owner, hire the most knowledgeable trainers, and I could go out of business if those knowledgeable trainers treated people like crap. They overcharged them for things that weren't appropriate. They kind of talked more about themselves. They put clients down. Everything was more about them. People wouldn't have cared how much they knew because they just didn't enjoy the person. They didn't want to be around that person. So I started realizing, okay, you know what I can do is I know how to make somebody a good trainer. I know how to teach somebody to be a trainer. But it's much harder and a much longer process to teach somebody how to be a good person. So instead of going for the best trainers, I started going for the best people. And then I would develop the trainers, and I have a whole bunch of curriculum-based stuff that I used to teach trainers the basics of what I needed them to know. And I was able to develop some really awesome trainers. Some have moved on and done their own thing now, which is freaking awesome and cool, and it's, a compliment to the teaching methods that we used. But it was really a cool opportunity for me to realize that if you're worried about whether or not you're a good trainer, don't. Worry about whether or not you're a good person. If you work on your character, you will become a better trainer. But if you work on just becoming a better trainer and not your character, you won't become a better trainer. You might know more, but that knowledge of just muscles and sets and reps isn't going to save you from being selfish, isn't going to save you from being untrustworthy or untruthful about money. Being a good person is way more important. And that's what I'd tell you to focus on. That's what I focus on. So I'm not, preaching from something I don't do. I focus on trying to be the best human being I can be first and a trainer second. And what I told my younger trainers or my newer trainers is often we kind of went through a scale system and to give them kind of like a perspective of the way to think about how to handle being a newer trainer. And we thought about it is if you think of the clients that you can bring in that might come to a gym, and if you were to rank them from a 1 to 10, whereas 1, which is probably a 0, is somebody has no clue. They've never worked out. They don't know the difference between a dumbbell or a barbell. And that absolutely is true. So I remember when I used to teach at the university, I had students all the time who didn't, they would mix up the terms or they didn't understand which one was a barbell and which one was a dumbbell. But those people are pretty much zeros. Or 1. On a scale of 1 to 10 in the client of how advanced they are or how much they know, they would be a 0 or a 1, right? They're just kind of starting. Well, if you're a trainer, chances are, if you want to be a personal trainer, you've already worked out. And you've probably been working out for a year or more. And it's probably a passion of yours. You probably love training. You probably try new things all the time. You're probably excited by it. You probably already do some educational efforts on your own. So just as part of just the excitement of life, like you watch videos, read articles when you can. So you're already going to be above a 0 or a 1. You've already started. You know the difference between a barbell and a dumbbell, and you know maybe when to use which ones, and what are exercises for my chest, my back, my shoulders, my biceps, my triceps, my thighs. So you probably know more. So let's say that you're a beginner trainer, and maybe you truly are a beginner, maybe 1 year's experience of lifting. You just got a huge, awesome response out of it. You love the way it made you feel, and now you want to share that with other people. So maybe you go get a low-level certification because it's all you can afford, or you're not certified at all yet. You just want to kind of share what you know. You might consider yourself to be, like maybe a 2 or a 3 on a scale of a 1 to 10, where 10 being like the elite level best trainers ever, and 1 would be like somebody's first day as a trainer. But you might consider yourself a 2 or a 3. Well, the best way you can go about having confidence as a leader, confidence as a trainer, is to train people at or below your number. So if you deem yourself to be a 3, only train clients who are 0, 1s, and 2s. So that way, you don't feel overextended. You don't feel like you're inadequate. You will technically know more than they know. So if you know the difference between a barbell and a dumbbell and they don't, you can impart that wisdom onto them, and now they know something more, they're educated, and you will have been able to help them on their journey. So that's the idea. Then as you grow as a trainer, maybe you train a bunch of 1s and 2s, and it kind of becomes fun, and you're getting more experience, you're getting more confidence. Maybe you've advanced in your own training, 6 months down the road or even a year down the road. Maybe you even did a competition of some sort, and that gave you a whole new level of understanding of diet, nutrition, and discipline and everything you need mentally. So now all of a sudden you deem yourself to be a 3 or a 4 trainer. Well, now you can pick up 3 level clients. Or maybe your 1 or 2 level clients have developed to 3 level clients now. And that's the idea of how you want to kind of progress through your career, is have a good understanding of where you would rank yourself. Now, often people are going to say, don't be arrogant. Like, don't call yourself a 10, blah, 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 blah. But overwhelmingly, what I deal with is people who undervalue themselves. So often when people have personal training as their goal, and their purpose for doing it is to help others, they're going to usually undervalue themselves. If someone's goal of personal training is to get rich and to be like important, and that way they can get a free membership to a gym, like if they're very shallow reasons like that, then they're usually the ones who overhype themselves. So they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm an 8. So we host interns from the local university through the gym here who want to become strength coaches or personal trainers. And I have had interns come in before, and they're like, well, with a 4-year degree, it's probably going to put me at a level of 6 or 7. And then I have been training very hard on my own, for 2 or 3 years. So I'd say I'm a solid 7. And I'm like, you are so full of shit. And every once in a while I have to kind of, not try to put somebody down, but just open up their eyes to, okay, let's start defining this. And we would go through and pick people at different levels of careers and rank them. So maybe like 10 would be like somebody who can coach Olympic level athletes. Maybe 8 and 9 are people who coach like professional athletes of some sort. And we were kind of like ranking different like classifications. And then all of a sudden they realized, oh man, maybe I am only around a 3 or a 4. So, but more often than not, the people I work with, they undervalue themselves. So I'll have somebody who has like 3 or 4 years worth of lifting experience. They've made a really cool transformation in their body, and they've really made a difference in their own life. And I'll say, where do you consider yourself? And they're like, a 1. I'm like, no, you're better than that. So I go through and try to like pump them up and get them moving. But that's the idea. Is if you think of what our clients can be anywhere from 0 to 10, trainers can be 0 to 10. So stay with clients that are under your number, okay, as a trainer. And then every once in a while, if you feel like yourself getting comfortable with where you are, get uncomfortable and take a stretch, take a chance and try somebody who's at your number. So if you're a 4 trainer, try to find a 4 client. And even if you need to at first, if you're not sure if it's, oh man, this would be fun to train this person, but I don't even know if I'm really capable yet. Train them for free. Offer to just train them for free at first. Create value in yourself first. Create confidence for yourself. So that's a really good way to where you're not burdened now by the anxiety of getting money that maybe you didn't earn or don't deserve. So just train them for free and use it as a learning experience. Okay? So that's a really cool way to do it, is using that scale. Another thing that I like to think of is, I've talked about in past podcasts, I believe in God, but what I'm about to say doesn't necessarily have to believe in God, but the idea of having this higher being or this higher power, higher kind of aspect of life. So some people will believe in God, some people believe in karma, some people believe in a natural process of life or an order of life, however you define your higher being or higher sense. And what I often tell people is when you have a client or an opportunity, let's say an opportunity to go speak at a public format, or an opportunity to post something on social media, or an opportunity to take on a new client, is you want to be thankful for that opportunity, be grateful for that opportunity. So I actually voice that to like God for me. So that would be my example. Is when somebody signs up and they says, "Hey, yeah, I'd love to do some personal training, or I'd love to get a program from you." My first response always is, "Thank you, God, for the opportunity to help this person." So, I was believing in God. I believe that, we're all kind of like God's like children in a sense. Like God made each of us, and He cares about each of us. And if He cares about this person, and He brought them into my life so I could help them, that means He wants me to help one of His children. And that's, holy hell, that's an honor. You know what I mean? So I thank Him for that opportunity to bring somebody into my life that maybe I can positively influence. And I actually say a prayer to God and ask Him to help me in that process and help me to help them in the manner in which He wants. So if He brought them to me, it was maybe because He wants them to learn something important about their nutrition. That's maybe going to save their life and help them be around to watch their children grow old. Or maybe He wants them to learn something about training that's going to help prevent like maybe a cancer issue later on in life. You never really know. So I just thank God for the opportunity, and I say a prayer for His help to make sure that I can be His helping hand here on earth and give this person the information and the assistance that He wants them to have. And like I said, if you don't believe in God specifically, you can think of it as karma. As like, here's an opportunity for you to do good into someone's life, so that way maybe good will come around to your life. Or you can just bring more goodness into the world. Whatever kind of belief system that you have, that typically if you lean into that belief system in a positive, grateful way, a thankful way, it's going to bring calmness to you. So that's something that really helped me a lot whenever I started doing more public speaking engagements. So I've talked in various formats to a wide variety of people, and it's been training related, nutrition related, a little bit of everything. And one of my favorite things is just going in there, having some presentation of information, but then just letting people do Q&As. Because often they came to the event, or they're forced to the event, depending on, like I've talked at some schools, for example, and they're just forced to sit there, the students. But they usually have questions about nutrition or training. Like maybe if it's a young guy, they're like, how do I get bigger arms? And they would not care about anything I said that entire presentation, but that's what they want to know. So I usually try to use at least half the time for Q&A. And I love, love, love that opportunity, because you really get at the heart of what people want to know, what's holding them back. So I did a talk once with a group who was recovering drug addicts. And they were talking about just different nutritional viewpoints and things of stuff that I definitely would have never thought of. Like angles and viewpoints that they were having, and without that Q&A, I would have maybe kind of glossed over those things and not realized how important they were for those people. But the cool part is, or the interesting part is, in order to open yourself up to a random question and answer session for 30, 40 minutes or so, takes that takes a pair of balls. So it takes some either just stupidity on my part, or confidence in yourself of knowing what you know. And for me, it was actually neither of those. So what it was I said a prayer before I walked in there, and I say, hey God, if this is an opportunity for me to help somebody, please give me the answers, please give me the information, and please allow me to help your children as best as I can. So then all of a sudden when they start asking questions, things just kind of pop in my mind, and you go with the flow, and it seems to all work out because you're doing it for God, you're doing it for those people. So that's something you can think of when you're with a client, is you're there, the client wants you there. That's why they're paying you. So they're not judging you. They're not going to be testing you. The client is excited to be there. They're excited to learn. They want to learn from you. They're there to nurture and help this process along. They're not going to fight the process. So realizing that is a huge part as well, is that you're both just working together to create a happier life for them. So it's a teamwork, it's a team like partnership. So when you think of it that way, it gets rid of a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, because it's not you being tested or you versus them, or it doesn't expose you on your own. It's a partnership. You're going to ask them where they're at, help fill in some gaps maybe that they're making in their nutrition or training. You're not there to solve the world's problems. You're just there to make their life one step easier. That's it. And I think having that perspective of being grateful for the opportunity and then saying a prayer of support, whether that's to, God or to whomever that you would ask for your support. But I think that helps a ton. It really does. So just recognizing that, I think, is a big thing. So that's kind of like the general information that I give to trainers to overcome their fear of reaching out or fear of stepping out, is to, again, think of that scale. So what is this client who reached out to you, or who are you advertising to on social media? So if you're afraid of, I want to do a post about nutrition, but, what if people ask about this caveat or that caveat? So for example, I might post a recipe on our social media, and someone would say like, I'm trying to think. Here's an example. I think I made like a bagel sandwich with eggs and chicken kind of blended together, and then I put mayonnaise on the sandwich. And I had someone mention one time, mayonnaise might not be healthy because it adds, this many grams of fat to that meal, which already has this many grams of carbs, and blah, 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 blah. Holy crap, who gives a shit? So it was one of those things where there are going to be the people that hyper-analyze, and we have that phrase like, see the forest for the trees kind of thing. So they're going to look at the most nitpicky little small thing, and when you think about, like, okay, if somebody's making a bagel sandwich with chicken and eggs, at least they're not eating a Big Mac. At least they're not eating a burger. At least they're not eating some fried fast food horrible crap. So is it true that, if I add mayonnaise to that sandwich, it adds calories? Yeah, that's true. But how do we know that those calories are too much or too little? Like, it's too broad-based. It's just educational information. It's just an idea that you're throwing out there. So there could certainly be loopholes on who that information best applies to, but that's kind of the nature of public information, is you have to present broad-based general information. And if somebody wants specifics, they have to get specific and get with you in an individualistic type of way. So that might be something where you're afraid of, is sharing something on social media, but having somebody nitpick it apart. They're going to. Just don't worry about that. So who are you trying to help? If you're trying to help true beginners, maybe somebody who does eat off fast food menus every night, then just present the information that you know would help that person, and recognize that that's the purpose of that post. You're helping somebody. If somebody wants to nitpick at it, oh well, that's fine, so that's okay. Just as long as you got the help to the people who needed it. That's the goal. So there's that comment. I kind of really dislike these terms, but they're popular, so I'm going to use them. Is people talk about having haters in life, and oh gosh, no one really gives a shit about you in life for the most part. So everybody's so self-absorbed, people don't usually hate on other people's lives because they're just so overwhelmed with their own. But you will have people every now and then who are negative towards maybe efforts that you put forth, and you have to recognize that what you're doing isn't about them. So their reaction doesn't have any influence on your behaviors and your actions. So you know who you're doing it for, you know what you're doing it for, the reasons you're doing it for. So you stay true to yourself, you stay true to who you want to help. If they want to hate on you or if they want to be negative, oh well, that's a sign of negativity in their life, not anything in your life or anything you're doing wrong. Okay? So just say a prayer for them and hope that whatever they're going through gets better for them. But stay true to yourself and help people as much as you can. So don't hold back helping 100 people just because you have one negative Nancy in your life, okay? So just overcome that and put yourself out there. The positivity you show to the world will come back to you. You will get some positive feedback. You'll get people telling you you're making a difference. So go out there, put yourself out there. If you know information that can help others, share it. Please do, okay? So that's the idea. So hopefully this gave you guys some food for thought. So think of those trainer scales versus client scales. Train people who are at your level or slightly below. As you get more comfortable, try to pick up more higher level clientele. If you need to at first, train them for free just to get the experience and see if you're worth it. Then always be thankful for the opportunities you have. Be grateful for the opportunities and say a prayer of help, so that way the God and or the bigger influence of life will be on your side and help you with things going well. And then also just recognize that when you're training somebody, it's a partnership. You're there to help them. They're excited to get the help from you. It's a positive experience, okay? So, if you have the chance to be a leader, if you have a chance to make an influence in someone else's life, by damn sure do it, okay? So, it's an amazing opportunity to help other people. And if you have that ability, please share it. Please take advantage of that. Cool. So, hopefully this information helped you guys. So, if you like this information, you can find more from us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Brutal Iron Gym. Also, if you like the podcast, please share it with family and friends. So the more people we help, the happier the world will be. And if you have any questions, feedback, or suggestions, we would love to hear from you. So the podcast is for you, so we'll know what you want to learn about. And you can reach us at our email at brutaliron@gmail.com. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.